WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting often rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have the 4th edition of Lochlea. This is their Ploughing edition. I think in the title in here you can actually see that it's spelled in the British way, Ploughin, Ploughing edition. First crop. I'll come to both of these in a second what it means. And then it actually says here, and this is important, single malt Scotch whisky matured in ex-Islay barrels and peated quarter casks, non-chilled, filtered, and natural color, 46%. Product of Scotland. Now, bravo, non-chilled, filtered, bravo, natural color. Look at this color. You can see through this my face still. Yeah, I mean, hey. And those are the tractor tires here, the tractor tread on the bottle. Actually, it's very, very nice to hold it. It doesn't slip out of your fingers or anything like that. So what we have, I really don't like the sound this makes. It's kind of like, I haven't had a good plop yet. So I had a little bit left in there from my video that I just did in German. Just realized that, so sorry. Now, Lochlea at least received a massive publicity blast when John Campbell left his old distillery on Islay and went to this distillery. He was there, I think, for 27 years, all right? And now he's with Lochlea. Whiskybase number 225707. In Germany, we're paying about 59 euros. Interesting enough, in the UK, it's 49 pounds. So the euro and the pound are not that much different, so it's cheaper, much cheaper in the UK with higher VAT and higher alcohol tax than it is in Germany. Where did that money stay at? I don't know. Yes, I do, but I'm not saying anything. In the Netherlands, it's even higher. It's 65 euros. So the importer there said, hey, give me a little bit more money, or they wanted to keep some money there for themselves. At least that's my theory, because different countries have different recommended retail prices, and that's what happens there. All right, so this is, according to my information from the Spirits Journal over here in Europe, and hold your hats and hold your pants and hold your socks on, this is an unpeated whiskey. And yet it says here in the press release, the first peated release from Lochlea. Jason, what am I doing? Now, before I say one more word, it says here, dare to be honest on the label. That's a slogan, and fear no work. All right, dare to be honest. They say this is a peated whiskey. On the back, I can actually read here, wow, that's small. Now, my grandmother had this before Ralphie had it, so I'm using this as well. And it says here, Lochlea is an independent, family-owned distillery in the heart of Ayrshire and Scotland. We grow our own barley, distill our unique spirit, and mature all our casks on site. Excellent. We are focused on crafting an outstanding whiskey for everyone to enjoy. Our local ingredients, process, and maturation combine to offer a distinctive style of Scotch whiskey that we love and hope you will too. Distilled, matured, and bottled in Scotland. So, this is, according to the information from the Spirits Journal, unpeated whiskey that has been matured in, as they say here, ex-Islay barrels and peated quarter casks. So, who uses the most quarter casks? Laphroaig. Now, ex-Islay barrels could be anything. They could be unpeated Buna, they could be unpeated Bruichladdich. Apparently, they think everything on Islay is a peated whiskey. So this receives all of its peat secondhand. Now, over here in Germany, it's not uncommon for a whiskey producer to actually do that. If you put peat into your distilling system, it takes a very, very long time and a lot of cleaning and a lot of effort and a lot of energy to get rid of that peat reek, that peat smell, that peat flavor. And so you have to go through many distillations, wash all the pipes, have all the tanks. Even some distilleries I knew that do peated and unpeated, they have a peated spirits receiver, and they have an unpeated spirits receiver because it's just so intensive and so difficult. You never get 100% of those ppms out of there. And even in the pot still and all the piping that is used there, they say, hey, that's always a little bit of a difficulty. So Lochlea at the very beginning, at the beginning of the process, said, okay, good, we don't have peated malt, we have unpeated malt, and we're just going to use peated casks instead. I, WhiskyJason, feel cheated. I would love to have a regulation in Scotland. Hey, SWA, the Scottish Whisky Association, tries to regulate a lot of things that says if you're going to put peated whiskey, you have to use peated malt. Now, in Europe, it's going to be difficult to do that, but I would love for them in Scotland to do that. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Imagine you had Glenfarclas. You will never see an independently bottled Glenfarclas with the name Glenfarclas on that. The Grant family has forbidden that for generations, all right? You will see a independently bottled something or other that somehow sounds like Glenfarclas, but it will never say the name Glenfarclas independently bottled on it, all right? So that will always be only from an original bottling. Even the very number one from SWMS, one, we all know it's Glenfarclas, but nowhere will you see the name. Now imagine Glenfarclas said, hey, this is our distillate, and instead of putting in these wonderful sherry casks from Juan Matez bodega, we are going to instead put it into quarter casks, peated quarter casks from Islay, and then let it sit there for 8 years and then sell it as the first peated Glenfarclas. Would you feel cheated that the peat did not come from peated malt, but rather from second-hand casks used on Islay that imparted a second-hand peat aroma? I would go, hey, that's not peated whiskey. Yeah, that's a peated finish, but it's not peated single malt. That's what they're doing here. All right. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to affect the flavor as it's going to be terrible, but I am going to say that I do have, dare to be honest, a tiny little bit problems with their marketing of this as a peated product, because I think peated barley. I don't think secondhand casks. Okay, maybe the problem was with me, I don't know. So what am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to something that I think is correctly done. From Glenallachie, this is what Billy Walker did. This is his 4-year-old. Excellent H statement, no H statement. It says first peated distillation. Very, very nice. Date bottled was August 2022. This is 60.2%. And this is the first peated Glenallachie that we have ever had. And they used real peat in the malting process and not just in the barrels. So pour this in here. I've done a review about this. I've used this a few times now as a comparison whiskey. So you just have to go with me here. Now, as I mentioned before, this is called the ploughing season, and this is the first crop. Each and every year, Lochlea is going to put out a first crop, second crop, third crop. So in the next 3 years, so 2022 to 23 was then the first crop, and then the 23 to 24 is going to be the second crop, and 22 to 23, 23 to 24, 24 to 25 is probably going to be the third crop. I don't expect more than 3 crops, but that's just me. Maybe they might do 20, but I don't know. We know the system a little bit from Waterford. Waterford had their different farms, and they did 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And then the second year that they took from the same farm is 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. All right, so if you have a Waterford, whatever farm, 3 or 4 means they've done 3 or 4 years of different barley from that farm. Here they'll talk about the first and second and third crops. Lochlea uses only their own barley. Every single ounce of barley that is used in this whiskey is grown on the farm. And that's kind of cool. All right, there's traceability there. What I would like, if I want to have true traceability, is to actually know where did the yeast come from. And I would like to know where the cask came from. If you say ex-Islay, there's going to be 11 distilleries on Islay this year. 9 at the moment, 2 coming online. Which of the 11, all right? I know sometimes it's not possible to talk about the brand, but still, if you're talking about traceability, it's not just the barley that gives us a certain amount of flavor, it's those casks as well. And I do know there's a lot of Maker's Mark cask at Lochlea. All right, very, very good. Who actually set everything up? Who actually did everything at Lochlea? That is Malcolm Rennie. He is now setting everything up at Rosebank. So he has worked at different distilleries. For example, he used to be also at, where was it? Lefroy. He was distillery manager. He helped Annandale set everything up. He helped Kilchoman set everything up. He worked for Bruichladdich. He's worked for Atbeg. Now he's at Rosebank. He did everything here for Lochlea as well. The guy is, for me, a genius. The guy is, for me, a master of distillation, to get distilleries up and running, to plan them, to set them up. He's the modern-day Jim Swan, all right, of distillation and not just of maturation. Personal opinion there as well. So, Malcolm, if I ever do meet you, I would love to shake your hand and talk about that. All right, so what we have here is we have 4 different seasonal releases from Lochlea. The first one is called the Sowing Edition. Yeah, this is always first fill bourbon. So interesting enough, the Sowing Edition was 48%. Everything else is 46. So that would be the Spring Edition. You sow, you seed in the SOWING, sowing. The next one is going to be the Harvest Edition. Usually we have spring, then we have summer. I usually harvest in the fall, but hey, all right. They say in the late summer we harvest, and that's a Harvest Edition. They use port, Oloroso sherry, and bourbon barrels there. Then we go over the fall, which they call the Fallow Edition, FALLOW. So you leave the land to be quiet, all right? So we leave the fields fallow to rest after a busy harvest. There they use first fill Oloroso sherry casks, 46%. And then in the winter, they actually do the Ploughing Edition, and that is then the ex-Islay barrels and the peated quarter casks, also 46%. So I think that's interesting that they do the 4 different seasons. They're going to do the different crops, first, second, third, who knows how many more. And they actually have a core range already called R Barley. Our barley is matured in first fill bourbon barrels, Oloroso sherry cask, and STR barriques. 46% non-chilled filtered, no color added, always at Lochlea. And they do mention that on the label, which I think is very, very good. So if you have the possibility, maybe I might do this as well with some of my people, is to do a vertical of Lochlea already. Yeah, you could do actually, if you wanted to, between the first crop and the second crop to see how those 4 different things have changed. You could actually take the R barley, take the 4 different seasons, and the R barley, you had 5, that'd be a great flight. You could do that over the years and see what's happening there. So I love the concept of actually growing up with the distillery, following the distillery and their development. And this is a distillery that said, actually, let us first of all concentrate on our home country of the UK. They get the stuff first, and then a little bit of Europe and the USA. So they said, hey, we have limited capacity, maximum 200,000 liters if we actually run 24/7. It's not big enough for Asia. It's privately owned. The guys who actually have this here, it was a clothing store called Jason, and his name's here. So we have here Neil McGeoch, and he had a clothing retail store. His father built the business in the 1950s, which today is known M&Co. And Neil took his place in the family business while at the same time working as a beef farmer at the Lochlea farm. And in 2014, he sold his herd and pursued his career as a whiskey distiller. And Lochlea is situated on a farm from the 1700s. And what I could say is Robert Barnes did a lot of his most influential work while at that farm back there about 200 years ago. All right, so let's smell. Now, the peat moment is very, very soft, subtle. I get a little bit of plasticine for us in American Play-Doh. This is a chemical, for me, type of peat. You have fireplace Yeah, imagine you're at the beach and you're using driftwood and you have a fire, that type of peat. You have a smokehouse peat. You sometimes have more of a medicinal peat. You sometimes have a salty, more of a algae type of peat. You sometimes have an earthy type of peat that's darker and richer. And this goes a little bit more because it's secondhand peat into the more of a chemical petroleum type of peat. Sometimes it's more of a tar type of peat that I'm getting here. Burnt tar a little bit. Not great, I know, but that's what I get here. It's sweet and it's fruity. They do have longer fermentation times. Their short fermentation is 65 hours, and their long is 116 hours. So they're really, really trying, just like Annandale and other new distilleries, trying to push that fruit forward moment through the fermentation time and through the entire process that they gather that wonderful, wonderful moment there. All right, let's try it. 46%. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of a burn. The alcohol burn is there. But the peat is also there. There's much, much, much more peatiness than I expected. Now, it's not overpowering peat, it's actually wonderfully integrated. I'm pleasantly surprised at this whiskey, what that is. As I said, the peat is not the bonfire. It is not the smoke chamber. It is not the earthiness. It has a little bit of a coila type of citrus light peaty moment that tends a little bit more towards that let's go for a seaweed moment and a little bit of a tar mm, smidge there. Um, had I not known, had the press report not said, I might be totally wrong that my information is not 100% correct, but had I not read that this is an unpeated whiskey that has been placed in peated casks, I would not have known. Yeah, the peat level is tastes like it's 30 some percent, 25, 30%. It's there. Yeah, it's definitely there, and it has a nice finish. There's a fruity. We're talking apples, pears, honey melon with a peatiness that just continues on. There's a little bit of that bite of the alcohol. Some would say it's a little bit of like a ginger bite, but it's there. But it's nice. This is a sea whiskey. Value for money, 60 euros. If this is 3 years old, let's assume it is. No age statement, that's 20 euros per year. Ouch. Um, would I prefer a whiskey at 40 euros? Of course. I'm going to give it a D for value for money. This is not something you need to try. If you have 60 euros burning a hole in your pocket or 50 pounds, go buy something else. If you are absolutely interested in new whiskeys that are coming on the market and you have a few friends and you say, hey, I can share this bottle with you and we can go in all together and we can see what this new distillery is like and we're going to try to buy the other ones, yeah, the harvest and the fallow and the sowing and maybe even the next then plowing season or even the core range, our barley, and you do a tasting with your buddies and just see what's going on at the distillery and see how different the cask influences on this whiskey, yeah, go for it. Nothing better than to actually experience the growth and the change and the development of a distillery than with this. Brand new product, brand new on the market, and affordable. Not daft mill prices, but hey, affordable prices where we can actually see, experience, and taste a good difference there. This is, as I said, C in taste, D minus, D for the value for money. I am going to try to put a little bit of water in here. And I did not do this in my German video. I'm take it down to about 40% and see what happens. The peat moment actually is activated by water, which I expected. Happens all the time with Japanese whiskeys. It's like, oh, there's no peat. 2 drops of water, boom, there's peat. It's masked, it's hidden, so. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find out if the burn of the alcohol is gone if I dilute it. Nope, still there. It's not bad. It's just you just notice there's youthfulness there. Um, Oh, yeah, that does turn a little bit more to that tar petroleum moment at the end there. Good. The Glenallachie, 60%. The first thing I notice in the nose is nothing concerning the alcohol, but I get a rich, earthy, dark type of peat. A peat that I prefer. I'm not a peat head, but that's where I go, oh, that's peat. That's good peat. That's high quality peat. Cheers. Mm-hmm. Forgot to put the bottle in the picture. And the peat here, the alcohol, 60.2%. There's a little bit, but there's not that burn and not the ha ha. It's like okay, a little bit of power, but fantastically mellow for what it is. And the peat has more of a moment there where I go, oh yeah, the earthy, dark, rich bass moment. That's almost like a soprano over here with the brighter citrus moment, and this is a little bit better. What is it? So, uh, Berry White. Oh yeah. So that I just Prince Berry White, the artist formerly known as. All right, good. That's a difference. All right, that's a major difference in the way the peat affects these whiskeys, and that's very fascinating, very good. So first question is, have you tried anything from Lochlea yet? If so, which of the 5 different products out there did you like? Second thing is, what would you think of, for example, Glenfarclas actually using peated casks to create a peated whiskey? Would you consider it a peated Glenfarclas? I would not. Would you? And therefore the question is this a peated whiskey from Lochlea? Yeah, and should the SWA think about regulating that, of using secondhand peat in that case, if it is the case? All right, thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. And if you know any other information that my sources are incorrect about this not being a unpeated whiskey, only peated through the cask, please tell me. Thank you very much. All the best. Don't forget to share and tell others. Bye-bye.